that are worthy for Oya, and she does name her as She Oya Loni Egun, which means Oya, owner of Egungun. So I would think that with that, through the transatlantic Atlantic slave trade, or through that experience, the African, what they brought to Cuba in particular, because we know that it is totally different than what was kept in Candomblé in Brazil, because in Brazil you have roads of Oya that they speak about. In Lukumi tradition, we don't have roads. We just have the Odu that we're born by. But when I was looking at the different roads they named and acquired about Oya, it was very clear to me that, of course, those roads come out with Odu. Those roads associate with how that person was initiated and what uh, the Orisha spoke to them about through their Odu. So I do associate that with also with the Egungun society and the whole aspect of Oya and the Lukumi tradition being associated with the gateway of the cemetery. We had to remember too that also with that energy and knowledge carried into the United States, um, we did not have Egungun. We did not have Anya. We did not have most of those things that were still very current and prevalent in Africa. But we did have something. We had some knowledge of what each Orisha was connected to from their origin. So, Maferi Funoya and Egun, which is practiced in the Lukumi tradition, being closely related to when an elder priest passed away, the Onra ceremony, the tapping of the Opa Iku, um, the way that Oya is dressed for that ceremony itself, as well as the initiation of Oya. It all reminds me of that colorful abode, that colorful and powerful connection to the spiritual realm, but also the vastness of what is the meaning of Oya's impact in our lives. And we know that the word Oya means to tear, to rip. She tore. Um, from Judith Gleason's study, as well as being initiated for these small 23 years, we know that Oya, her movement is also to shake up, to uproot, but also to cleanse a space. So, which is also very different from the Egungun concept or perception. So, Baba Solomon, I want to ask you, when you say you're going to take a guess and you don't know, but you do know many Lukumi priests and some of the things that uh, they use or we use as. So I'm going to have to go downstairs, add to the stream. Okay. So can you hear me?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
I
So,
can.
Yes.
yeah. So you are involved with priests from all across the world that worship Orisha. And
Yes,
I believe the purpose for us coming together is to collectively value what Orisha has brought into this universe. I want to ask you, what is Orisha to you? Is it the force of nature? Is it um, the representation of Olodumare? What is your perspective on what is and who are Orisha? Select heads. Because in Ghana, he says Orisa, select heads. What is your answer to what are and what is
Well,
Orisha?
it's a very simple question, but it's also a very difficult question at the same time.
We'll make it simple.
Because simple as in everybody will have an answer for this question,
Of
but
course.
it's also a question that requires, for me, a lot of maybe introspection. Because if you look at Orisha, it has several meanings, not only one meaning. We can see Orisha as the part or energy of Olodumare that have been deified to preside over nature, over a certain aspect of nature. That is how I see Orisha. But if you look at the word Orisha, ẹni tó ríṣà dá, those that their head has selected, for leadership and to become divinity. So I think that Orishas are basically aspects of Olodumare that have been deified physically for us humans to be able to perceive and to propitiate and to understand. And through this understanding, we also understand the nature of Olodumare, because Olodumare cannot be understood without the Orishas. That's how I see it.
Okay. Oh, we have Yeye Fumilayo, Ajamu Fua. She said Omoruku. The true Yoruba language pronunciation is the next step. Seeking and learning the correct Ami helps to invoke the right spirits or energy.
For
Okay.
leadership and
So I think she's referring to the banner that I have at the bottom.
okay, what you said,
Um, did you hear me?
Omoruku, child
Well,
who
I don't speak
carry
the right
the
tone. I
cup.
don't speak Yoruba, but I do speak English. Child who carried the corpse. Yep.
Okay, I've seen the banner. It's all
Yes.
right.
Child who
It's
carried the
in the right
corpse.
direction.
Yes. Yes. And also at the
Can we
Yohoto.
just pause for a second? I think there are some things that are getting lost in the conversation that are important to point out.
Okay.
And one of those things that is important to point out in the conversation is, like I was saying before, that Ijesha dialect is going to be different from Ogbomosho dialect. It's going to be different from Oyo dialect. It's going to be different from Egba dialect. It's going to be different from Egbado dialect. So when someone is making the statement, this is why it's this is why it's important to get the correct pronunciation. What is also important to get is the particular region from which you are taking your pronunciation, because it can vary from place to place. And I think it's very important to drive home the diversity, not only of Africa, but of Yoruba land itself. So I think what happens oftentimes in these let me say, denominational conversations between members of diasporan traditions and members of Isheshe traditions is that Isheshe traditions often get flattened, and they become not monopolized. What's the word? They become glossed
Monopoly.
over as if there is only
Yeah.
one, and there isn't only one. So what happens a lot of times is when people are talking to people from different parts of Yoruba land and they're getting different answers about the Orisha, one of the things that they're not taking into account is that there is a diversity of practice in Yoruba land itself. So when you hear an answer from one person of Yoruba land that contradicts or compliments or what have you, a person from another part of Yoruba land, it doesn't necessarily mean that one is wrong and the other is right. It means that these traditions are existing in different places in different ways. One of the ways that my godmother explained it to me is that when you travel through Yoruba land and you hear different stories that may or may not contradict each other regarding the Orisha, she said that it's because different groups of people have different contracts and different histories with the Orisha. So we have to be careful about saying, get the right Yoruba pronunciation. Maybe an additionally helpful way of framing that is to say, figure out what dialect of Yoruba this particular story comes from and how it's pronounced in that dialect. And I think that also applies to the way that the Orisha are venerated in different places. Because the way that Oshun or Oya is venerated in Iraq may not be the same as she is venerated in Ede. So I would really like, as a practitioner of Isheshe, this is something that I think is extremely important, is that people recognize and understand that there is a lot of diversity in Isheshe practice, from region to region, from town to town, and from village to village, and then from individual households and lineage to individual households and lineage. And everybody cannot be painted with one brush. It's not all the same. We don't all practice quote unquote Ifa. We practice Isheshe Lagba, in which Ifa is a part of that practice. So please, let's try to understand that there is a lot of diversity in Yoruba land, and that also Yoruba land spills over into Benin Republic as well.
Can I say something?
Yes.
To make it for, I don't know how many people are on this call, but just so that you understand it, what you were saying, in if you look at the Americas, right here in the US of A, I grew up here in Long Island, and a child was polite if a child said yes. When I went down south, that's a different region, it's different manners, different protocols, different pronunciation. If you didn't say yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, you were considered rude. Whose child is that? And it happens over there. I mean, it happens here, it happens everywhere. You go to Spain, northern Spain is different from southern Spain. Even the foods are different, the dialect is different, protocols are different. I mean, we all worshiping the same God, but you have to consider that when you're trying to get a translation, so much gets lost in the translation, too much. So to better captivate, like Nzinga was saying, let's find out where this is coming from. Like, all Spanish people don't speak the same Spanish.
Right. And I'm going to stand up for my Lukubi brothers and sisters, because they say, well, I like what you said.
That's true. I can
I like
understand.
what you said, Oyaniyi, about how things can get lost in translation and how the Yoruba language changes in its nature and tone across the Yoruba lands into Benin. I also want to take this into regards when we're talking about 2023, and I will go back to, I want to talk about this this voyage, this journey that we as Africans in the diaspora has taken, this journey through this slave transatlantic slave um, atrocity. We were once those Yoruba people. We were once those Edo people. We were once those Dahomey people. We were once those people. I don't believe for a second I'll wait till everyone pops back in and Baba Solomon will wait. No, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Mm, okay.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. We having one of those days. And
Yeah.
I don't want to go downstairs because there's too much noise down there. Okay, so I don't believe, so you can hear me, right?
Yes.
All right. I don't believe for a second that Orisha, the emissaries of Olodumare, or the select beings, when I pray, they know exactly where my heart is, where my language is. I think that the language itself, language itself is universal, and so is Orisha. So we know that and understand that Orisha, as we have learned, comes out of Yoruba land. But how do you make that same comparison to Orisha that has also different names but are similar in other cultures and societies? So, on that note, let me bring Baba Solomon back up. Orisha is Orisha. Orishas are universal. At least that's the way, that's what I think. That's what I feel spiritually. Orisha has helped us survive, whether we understand it or not. Odu, Odu are here on this universe, whether you whether you are blessed to live the good side of it or if you're blessed to live the let's say the side that you have to learn some hard knocks. But we have Yeye Fumi Layo. I'm going to bring her up. She is of the Biokoto Cultural Arts Education Center. She is also from Nigeria, and I got her up on the panel. Yeye Fumilayo, how are you? Can you unmute yourself, or are you? I'm going to unmute you. Oh, you have yourself muted. Please unmute yourself. I can't unmute you.
Hey, Crowley, I just unmuted. I'm actually just going to stay in the background and just listen. I actually want to learn.
What? No, 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 no. And let us see your beautiful face too. I can't stand that little disc. And then also we have my sister in Ocha Abba Glitton, who's Omo Abatala. I'm gonna bring her up. And I might need to go downstairs because I'm gonna get a better because I don't know what's going on. Maybe too many people using the Wi-Fi in the area. I have no idea. We didn't have all this going in and out, and now Baba Solomon is dropped off again.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I'd
So,
like to ask a
is there
question.
any questions?
I got one.
Yes.
I think somebody else. Mine is a little off the record.
Oh,
I'd like to ask a question because this conversation has come up frequently through the years since I've been inside the culture. And I wonder, are there anyone who's um, doing research to find out the similarities? Like I'm from the South, and I notice a lot of people that come here from the islands. A lot of the language that we use is similar, but they may not have ever been to the Americas, and I've never been to Jamaica, but words like picnic that the Caribbean people use and people down south use pickaninny. I'm trying to think of the other thing, like cornmeal porridge is a familiarity from both countries. Those kind of similarities that there's some connection to our past coming from Africa. So inside this faith, there has to be some similarities that can come up that would make it an interesting subject to see. It is true that every country, even in Africa, there's a lot of different dialects. We know that. There's a lot of different names for God. So respecting each other's uh, faith and beliefs, because we know it's all the same, is important. Maybe understanding some of the similarities within that would make us um, connect more. Does that make sense what I'm saying? What I'm asking?
I can hear
Yeah.
you, but Baba Solomon is going. I think his Wi-Fi may be going through a change. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So we will wait till he come back up. I do think there are some people that are have done some research, and I just want to make note that we have several authors of the um, Latino community. We have Baba Willie Ramos, who has done very extensive research through his PhD program. He has several books that speak on many attributes of the Orisha, as well as how they associate within Yoruba society. We also have Baba John Mason, who is an elder of Obatala. It's very hard to get it. An elder of Obatala who has written several books. So I think if people sit down and read, because that's something that I had to do as well. I had to take some of my books out and actually started paying more attention to the research that these great scholars in our communities have been doing. And I'm totally, I mean, in awe at what they have written, all the way down to the foods, the offerings to Orisha. Um, you have moi moi, you have akara, you have amalai la, you have, oh my gosh, geez. Somebody come
Echo.
on, give me some name. The Elau,
Echo. You have
Echo,
Echo.
thank you. Um, there's different names for
Egbo.
women.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep going. So it's not, I don't want to go in a direction with this program or with the live stream to, to say that Orisha's the translation of Orisha worship has been totally lost, but we know there's some variations as how Oyanuni pointed out. There's some variation in practice uh, from all four areas that I know. You have Ishiche, you have Lukumi, you have Candomblé, you have Shango Baptist, you have a whole freaking different islands that love and propitiate Orisha. Now, because we are Olo Oya, and we're going to lift up Oya during this time. And we're going to continue to research more and more about Oya. There's a sister she practices Ishishe, but she actually did a project to restore the sacred shrine in Iraq for Oya. She is doing a roundtable on March 5th, and I also want to be a part of her roundtable because I want to ask her some questions about how that came about and what is actually the motion around that restoration. So that would be something great to connect with her, and I will put that link on my Facebook page so that people can connect with her if you want to. But she did a whole fundraiser. She took her own money. She's a Olo Oya. She practices Ishishe, but I was like, wow. And so they restored the shrine in Iraq for Oya. But what is different here, Baba Solomon? You're on the and let me see if I can get you back up here.
I'm here. I can hear you.
Yes, I'm going to put you back up. So we know that in Yoruba land that Orisha mainly lives outside, and we don't have that luxury in the United States to um, house our Orisha in the atmosphere of the universe, because that's where they come from, right?
Does it live? Some live outside, some live inside, some have shrines, some are in people's homes. So some are outside, maybe some are inside. But this is what I think. Those that are outside are usually Eshu and Ogun and others. Some are inside, some are outside.
Right, right. And before we close this down, because we've been on for an hour and a half, can you tell us a little bit about the practice of Ekbe? Can you tell us the root definition and pathway to understanding Ekbe?
So somebody in this discussion, which I agree with her totally, talked about the different zones of Yoruba land, or the different groups or subgroups. So the way there are different practices within the Sheshe on Egbe and several Orisha. The way Egbe is practiced in Oyo, in Ibadan, in Iseyin is different from the way the Egbados practice theirs. So mostly when I'm talking about Egbe, I like to talk about the Egbe. Right? I'm aware of the Oyo system, taking the initiation, but I like to talk about the Egbado system because I like it. And it's a bit, their structure is a bit different, the way they practice their Egbe. However, Egbe simply, in simple or simplistic Yoruba, means group, just group. So you could have Egbe Onishango, which is the group of Shango worshippers, Egbe Oloya, the group of Oya worshippers, Egbe Olosun, the group of Osun worshippers. So the word Egbe means group. But Egbe is also referred to as Alara Agbo. But before coming to explain what Alara Agbo means, Egbe itself means group, and the people have defined it as heavenly group or spirit mate groups. But the basic idea of Egbe is that every human prior to descending on earth via birth had their own group, had their own friends, had their own families in heaven. And that before we descended to the earth, we all went to ask for permission to come to the earth. And so some of our Egbe also accompanied us when we were coming. However, before a man or a woman, anybody, humans, complete their final
Okay, he's frozen up a little bit.
journey, embrace the tree of forgetfulness. They are often, after embracing the tree of forgetfulness, when they get to the earth, they often forget about the pact, the agreement they made with their heavenly mate, with their Egbe Orun. And so sometimes this Egbe creates a lot of problems for the humans. Sometimes a lot of people propitiate Orisha without seeking harmony with the Egbe. Their problems never get solved because they are not in harmony with the Egbe. But if they come in harmony, understand how their Egbe works, their life will become much easier and successful. Another name for Egbe is Alaragbo. Igbo means the forest. Alaragbo, those of this forest, those that live in the forest. Actually, a lot of the Egbe are also forest dwellers, spirits who dwell in the forest. And so there are several Egbe, just like many Orishas have road, the Egbes have several roads too. You have the popular one, Yalode, you have Eleriko, you have Egbe Gbogero, you have Egbe Mahun, you have Adetanyanya, Egbe Baluwe, Egbe Digi Peregun, Egbe Digi Roko, Egbe Digi Ogede, Egbe Omi. So you have various Egbe, you have Balogun, Ajasa, Iworu, especially in Egbado area. So you have various Egbe. You have Egbe Abiku. You have Egbe Abiku, which in Egbado you take the initiation. The last initiation for Egbe in Egbado is the initiation into Egbe Abiku. Before that time, you do what we call the initiation into Igbo Asaka. That's in Egbado. They have various stages of their initiation. And so we have several Egbe. They have their rules, they have their implements, they have how they work, what the kind of food they take, and how to propitiate them. They have their songs, they have their invocations, their orikis, and things like that. When you're talking about Egbe, Abiku are actually children who are born and they know the date of their going back to the spirit world, the date they will leave the earth. And so sometimes they like to do this in order to create problem within the family. So the parents or guardian too will have to find out and make several ebos to tie them down to the earth plane so that they will not die young. So Egbe have many aspects. And the Egbes also work with different Orisha. Because we have Egbe Yalaje. Yalaje works with Orisha. We have Eleriko, which is like the issue. It's like the issue within the Egbe. We also have Sarik Egbe, which is like their public relations officer who dispenses news. So we have several roles of Egbe.
Okay. That was a very strong conversation on Egbe. We have Yeye Fumilayo. She wants to clarify something, and I'm going to allow her to come up and speak.
Thank you. So when I said the other time, when I wrote rather, that seeking the right pronunciation should be the next step, I understand that. I think I kind of, I was misunderstood. So I'm saying, so say like Oya. Oya will be called Oya. across board, regardless of whatever tribe you come from. That's what I'm saying. Like Egbe will be called Egbe. Like there's a way it has to be pronounced. Like the accent must be right. That's what I'm saying. For you to invoke the correct and positive energy. I'm not talking about how they are being the worship is practiced or separate, different from different tribes or where you come from. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm
You
talking
just went
about.
out, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
can hear you.
I
Okay.
can hear
So I'm
you.
talking about the pronunciations. Okay, like they are just, it will stay the same regardless of whatever tribe you come from, regardless of your even if you're from Elisha or Ijesha, you can't say Oya and then be saying Oya. That's meaning something else. So Oya will always be Oya. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it helps in the practice. It helps a lot, like
So if I
pronouncing.
say yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
So if I say Oya or Oya,
Oya,
Oh, yeah.
Re Re.
Oya.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking. I don't know if I'm making sense, Baba. Can you hear
You are
me?
making sense. I can
Yes.
hear you. I get what you're saying.
So that's what
You
I'm
are
saying.
making
That's what I'm saying. It helps a lot in the practice of Isheshe. That's what I'm saying. Like you're asking for something, you don't have the correct army. You're probably saying something else, and that is what you will invoke. So what I'm saying is it helps a lot,
oh,
which
yeah.
we,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I get what you're saying.
All right.
I quite
So
get what you're
that's what I'm
saying.
trying to say. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yeye. And just to make mention, Yeye Fumilayo is one of the head directors at the Biokoto Cultural Arts Center here in Cincinnati. They host a variety of programs for the community based on uh, a few Nigerian traditions. She could speak on that a little bit, but they also have a language class. Yeye Fumilayo, can you tell me the dialect that is being taught there? Is it strictly Yoruba, and where is it from?
Right now, for this quarter, we're teaching the Yoruba language.
The
Okay.
basic, we
Yes.
like the standard, I guess.
Right. Right.
Standard
Absolutely.
Yoruba.
Yes. Which, like I said, it will cut across. Like it will be. That's what, like you're saying Yoruba. That's what you're not talking about the very very tribes now, or whether it's if that makes sense. Like I'm not talking about Elisha dialect or the
Dialect.
different dialects. I'm talking about,
Ondo or
yes.
Egbado dialect.
Right.
I
Right.
get what you're
Just,
saying.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I get what
I
you're saying.
I appreciate that. Um, so with the variations, we are still, I would say, with the practice and Yeye and Oyaniyi, Abba, and who else we have down here? Odefa, we have Ia Abba, Shangoreti. With the practice and worship of Orisha, coming out of Yoruba land, going into Brazil, going into the Caribbean, coming into United States. And we have our Ilekes. Am I saying it right? Because we're very lax
So
with our
that's part of what I'm saying.
language.
Are you talking about the beads
Ileke,
or
the
ileke
beads,
or
the beads. Yeah, Ileke, is that Ileke or Eleke? What am I saying here? Can you hear me?
You're talking about your Ileke.
Yeah, so Ileke. We have, but we understand what we are saying. We understand the energy that we're putting forth to each request that we are making to Orisha. But when you say Oya, um, I know that internally Oya definitely understands that I'm calling her. In regards to what is happening now with the traditions across the board, and so many people seeking spiritual guidance, or they're seeking, um, let's say, solutions in their daily lives, and they go and sit down and they have readings, and they're told to make sacrifice. They're told to change themselves. This is what I believe, and some of my elders have taught me, that through Orisha, because it is a representation of everything that encompasses life, you can learn through Orisha how to change, how to transform your very existence, how to live a better life, how to correct yourself. Um, and in general, in Yoruba land, they speak a lot about Iwapele. Um, in America, in the black home, it was talking about having a good upbringing, being upright. That same concept um, was continually rebirth and rebirth and rebirth through generation and generation.
A
And
kind of
that's,
moral concept.
yeah, morality, having Iwa, all right, Iwa Pele. So, are there any more questions in the chat? Baba, do you want to tell them what it is that they can find your classes? Orisha
On Egbe
classes.
Imodoye, they can find my classes on www.egbeimodoyeorisha.com. They can find
Okay.
several of my classes there. Presently, also, I'm teaching the Merindilogun on Ori Institute also, presently. Ori Institute is owned by one African American Yalorisha, Yakumari. So I'm also teaching an Merindilogun class there. I also have a Alara Agbo class there also. But basically, most of my teachings can be gotten from egbeimodoyeorisha.com.
Okay.
So one can peruse it and see um, whatever class they like. But like you said, some of our classes are for those who are initiated, some are for those who have taken maybe a step or two in Isheshe or the Lukumi or Kadumble system. So we have two classes, one for the Awos, one for the Aborishas. So that's what we have.
Okay. So I will make sure that gets posted up on my Facebook page. Oyaniyi, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, I think the only closing remark that I have is that I think intra tradition dialogue is very important. And I think that it's wonderful that that so many people are seeking information. And one of the things that I learned from my elders and also in my training in school when I was looking for my degree, was one thing that I learned was that if you want the right information, you have to ask the right question. And there's as much humility that goes into learning what the right question is as to getting the actual information and doing what you're supposed to do with it. So I think that's the point that I was trying to make earlier, because a lot of times we have conversations and people ask questions and they're genuinely trying to get the correct information. But what happens is that because they're not aware of certain aspects of Isheshe practice, or the diversity of different places that it becomes difficult to ask the correct question or ask the question that is going to give them the answer that they need, and it creates more confusion. And it also creates some of this tension that we see between some of the different branches of the tradition. So one of the ways that we can kind of mitigate that is by being as specific as possible when we're trying to get information, and then making sure that when we get that information, we put it in the right category. So for example, like Baba said, when I really appreciated and understood his answer, when he spoke specifically about Egbe veneration in Egbado, and he made sure to say this is how it is practiced here. So I think that it will be helpful going forward when people are asking questions. Okay, well, how is Ori venerated in Oyo? How is it venerated in, in different places? And that way people will not become confused when they hear different answers from different places, and they won't think, oh, well, one of these people is lying. Neither one of them has to be lying. One of them might just be from different places with different practices. So all that to say, try to gather enough information to be able to ask the question that's going to give you the answer that you're trying to get.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're correct. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what I will say also. I like to add this. When we talk about Isheshe as it is known now, it has a lot of names. Àwọn tó ń bọ òrìṣà, it have several names. Àwọn olórìṣà, àwọn onífá, àwọn babaláwo. So, but coming under a uniform name is all right. There are several names we can be referred to. Àwọn abọ̀rìṣà, that's also our name. But it seems it seems popular. But I like to say this: a lot of the information on Isheshe that comes out of Nigeria to the diaspora is 90% Ifa-centric. Do you get me? It's 90% Ifa-centric. The Olorishas have not been heard. That's why there seems to be a lot of confusion. We should stick to professionalism. If you are a Babalawo, deal with Ifa. Don't do Yemoja, initiation, do this, do that. And I see that happening a lot. So there's a lot of confusion because you will be a Babalawo, you want to be the Egbe, Baba Elegbe, you want to be this, you want to be that, you want to be a local priest, you want to be, it's not, you are a Babalawo, stick to Babalawos. If you are an Olorisha too, don't come and be doing a fire initiation for people or trying to answer questions that are known to the Babalawos. Even here, when people do Orisha and they do maybe Idoshu and they also do Itefa, they stick to one system. They don't do the two. You see that, I was initiated in Orisha, but he has also initiated in Ifa, and he sits, learns and practices like a Babalawo, or sits, learn and practice like an Olorisha. But from my practical experience, most of the things, books, teachings in the diaspora about Isheshe is coming from the Babalawos. And that is why there's a lot of complications about Orisha. If not, if you look at the average Olorisha here, the practices are just slightly different from the Lukumi system. It's not, there's no wide gap like that. The practices are very similar, very close, especially from certain regions. And so those are the type of things we need to discourage. A jack of all trades, master of none. You are the Babalawo, you are the Olorisha. You stick to one.
And this is one of the reasons why I gravitated towards Baba, because he did represent priesthood out of Nigeria land, and I respect that. There is a lot of confusion.
There is a lot of confusion, and I think that the point that he makes about most of the information being Ifa-centric is very accurate, and I think that also contributes to this perception that anybody who practices Isheshe practices Ifa. That's something that I hear people in the diaspora say all the time, and there are some of us who are initiated to other Orisha besides Ifa. We don't practice. We are not Ifa devotees. So just because you're initiated in Yoruba land and you practice Isheshe does not mean that you are an Ifa devotee necessarily or an Ifa worshiper. We just are initiated in Yoruba land and we have our various Orisha. Ifa is also another Orisha, but just because you're initiated in Isheshe does not make you an Ifa practitioner. So that's a great point that Baba made.
Yes, most definitely. I'm trying to seek out in the chat, and this live is going to be up for many, many days. There will be people that will be able to watch this live on their own. Um, Barbara, do you have any closing remarks or do you have anything else you want to say? I know it's pretty late there now. We've kept you up
My
for
my closing remark is that I kind of love the exchange that has been going on for some years between some of us who practice Isheshe Orisha tradition and some of you that practice the Lukumi system. Formerly, there seems to be a lot of division, but now we do understand each other better and we exchange ideas and we assist each other, which is very good because Orisha is actually one, whether it's the Trinidad tradition, the Kadomble, the Lukumi, the Sheshe, the Benin Republic tradition, we are all one. And that is a very significant progress. For example, like Oba Willie Ramos, Jeff Gonzalez, they have been my friend for many years and we've met, we've discussed Orisha. We keep discussing Orisha privately and we all get more enlightened. And so I think it's something we need to keep doing until we all realize that we are all together. That's all I have to say.
I do have one question because it's so much going on in the world. There's so many people, so many people that walk towards Orisha thinking or believing or stepping into their knowing. And I think it's each person's individual journey. I'll put it like that. And I said this in the live last time, and I'm going to say it again. The world is duality. You have light and you have darkness. Um,
Yes.
it is because of the prayers of all the people in the world that work with the light that this world is still holding itself up. That energy, that Ogun, that Yemonja, that that Obatala, that wind, that Oya, all of that, Olokun, the egg base, everything that we connect with the prayer, that's what this um, Olo Oya speaks. It says that when Oya comes, she comes to clean the space, to clear the land. Oya makes you realize that you are not the only you were not the only human being that was here, if you understand what I mean, because Oya, the mother of Egungun, teaches us, and what that quote that was on that on the bar, I'm going to put it back up here again because I thought on this and I had a dream. for all my Olo Oyas, or people who in Lukumi or in Ishishe, we know that Osign is called. We know that the airway, the herbs, the sacred herbs are there to assist in your connection, to be in that birth canal to that Orisha. So
Yes.
the child who carried the corpse, for me, when it comes out of Yoruba land like this is what it made me think about. It's made me think about the elder who has passed away. It is the child who should be carrying the corpse. It is the child who witnesses the transition of its elder. And when I think about society today, you don't see that too much because you see too many children who are now being carried by their own elders into the ground. So I'm
Mm.
praying. This is the change that has happened a lot. So I'm praying to all of our um, Orisha worship people, all the Oloyas. Let's keep praying. Let's keep talking. Let's keep coming together um, to make a difference in our lives and keep teaching people to be safe and protect themselves, because we know that Orisha protects this universe. It will defend itself and it will defend its children. It's not the boogeyman. I don't look at the Orisha like it's the boogeyman, like it's gonna come and get me and what do you call, disrupt my life. No, you're disrupting your life. If you're out here doing crazy things, you're disrupting your own life. But who am I to judge? So on that note, I'm going to thank the panel guests, Baba Solomon Emoji.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. And
Thank you.
came and joined Iya also sister came today. Oya told me, little girl,